Hey, good evening, guys. It's KB5MIQ Big Boy. Old ham radio cat piled up here. Get out here, cat. Well, guys, y'all know I get a lot of my subject matter off of social media. So I want to rehash a subject I've already talked about, but it still keeps coming up. So I want to make sure I was clear on it with everybody. Not saying that everybody should be listening to me on it, but I want to find out. Recently saw a YouTube about 70 meters, centimeters, 2 meters, 6 meter Yagi from old TV antennas. This seemed like a fun project for any insight on the matter. It is a fun project. One of the comments I didn't really agree with, you can indeed repurpose a TV Yagi antenna for amateur transmission, but it's quite the ambitious project. You'll be doing it primarily for the experience and education. Well, that's not exactly right, but let's talk about that again for a minute. Also, I've seen several posts lately where guys will take a picture of an older house they've just bought that's got a big analog wideband TV antenna on. Hey, look at this big antenna. Can I hook it to my ham radio? Can I make a ham radio antenna out of it? And I've seen a lot of posts like that. And I've got a video on here that I'm going to relink again with this video on how to make a 2 meter Yagi out of an old TV antenna. But let me clarify a couple things about this. Number one, you cannot use a TV antenna in its original configuration for an HF amateur or any amateur radio band antenna. All right. Original old analog big TV antennas are they're not Yagis, they're kind of this weird log periodic, but they're made for reception. That's what they were made for. They're reception antennas. They were never intended to be used to transmit. What we talk about when we're making a TV, radio, a ham antenna out of a TV, is we're taking the old TV antenna down and stripping it down to parts. Drill all the rivets out, take all the elements off, take the boom out, all the parts you can get off of it. The insulators are good, save them, you might use them. If it's still got good U-bolts on it, save them, because you could use them. But you strip the antenna down to the pile of parts that it is. And if you've ever priced aluminum tubing here lately, you'll see why we do that. Jeff, for instance, got one of the old big antennas. It actually had two booms on it. They used to have a support boom to help keep it stable. He salvaged enough material out of that one antenna that we built four 3-element VHF Yagis out of it. One for him, Tim, Jeff, and Cody. All right, they're great antennas. And when you get a free TV antenna, you may have another $1 in hardware in it, and you've just saved. Even the cheapest 3-element MFJ offered was like $75-80. You've just saved some money. Plus, it's fun. But you cannot use a TV antenna in its original configuration as a ham antenna. Okay? That's why I've always said, if you get a chance to get an antenna, get it. Not as many of them around anymore because analog TV's been gone for a number of years now. And scrap metal got high. I know a lot of them got scrapped. But if you get a chance to get one, get it. Now, if you get a chance to get one and it's still on a push-up pole, and they'll give you the push-up pole, get it. And heaven forbid, if it's got a rotor on it Ask them if the box is still in the house. And if you get the push-up pole, the antenna, the rotor, and the box, you've just hit cheap ham Valhalla. Trust me. Now, Jeff and myself have been cheap in this hobby ever since we've been in it. You ought to seen our wallets creak open and moss fly out of it when we both had to break down and buy a new rotor this year because we was finally out of our multitude pile of old Channel Master rotors we used to buy at Swap Meets years ago. Actually, I still got one of them that'll work, but it's only I don't have a control box other than that box Jeff made me that's got a slide switch that you have to look out the window and you can't see my antennas from the window. I'd be using it. So that's all great stuff to use to make VHF 6-meter antennas out of. Square booms especially make it a lot easier to do that. I'm going to put the slide on here of the diagram of our 2-meter, or Jeff's 2-meter antenna build. He's got a diagram drawn on how to do it. And if anybody wants that diagram, I'll email it to you. My email's good on QRZ. I try to remember to put the email in the description, but there's always that slide at the end of my video showing the 10-meter roundtable group and our schedule, and my email's on that. So yes, a TV antenna provides a lot of material to make antennas with, but no, you cannot use a TV antenna for ham radio in its original configuration. Okay, I got another one here. All right. Please don't hate me for asking this question. I'm sure I'm not the first one to think of this. Can I use a CB magnetic mount antenna for a mobile 10-meter ham antenna? I'm assuming I need to change the length to work. Well, yeah, you can trim any CB antenna and make it work in the 10-meter band. Y'all need to remember, CB is not this special weird band out there that nobody's supposed to be into. CB is 11 meters, and 11 meters used to be a ham band up until the early 60s. So all it is 27 megahertz. You just trim an antenna back. Now here's a guy who wrote a response I didn't really understand. Most people said you can do this. I would caution that many CB antennas have a very high Q and narrow bandwidth and not suitable for the wide band that 10 meters is. Well, if you're a tech, you can trim it to fit whatever part of the tech portion you want to work with. I don't really understand that because 11-meter antenna is still a 50 ohm antenna. For instance, a lot of people talk about the 102-inch steel whip. Now, I'm going to tell you what Jeff and I did. Not going to say it's absolutely correct, but it worked for us. The old CB myth was if you put a 102-inch steel whip antenna up, you had to put the spring, the ball mount, and 21 foot 6 inches of coax, and your SWR would be fine. Which we all know in ham radio, the length of the coax is not really affecting the SWR, but a CBer would argue with me till days in. And honestly, back in the late 70s at Walmart, we had CB accessories, and we had that length of coax for a whip antenna, 21 foot 6 inches. Jeff and I did. We run 10-meter mobile with 102-inch steel whips. We just took the spring out of the equation and put the steel whip directly into the ball mount, and the SWR was fine. Had good luck with it. Okay. CB base antennas are excellent on 10 meters. My first one was a 3-element CB Yagi that Jeff and somebody give him. He had trimmed for 10 and give it to me. So yeah, that stuff will work. You don't see much of it anymore, and if you get a chance to get it, grab it up. We're going to talk about one more I saw on here. Why do you buy used radios? I follow the used radio market, and I still have trouble seeing value in used radios. New radio tech seems so advanced that saving a couple $100 hardly seems worthwhile. Similar to cameras and laptops, it doesn't seem like the small saving is worth buying outdated technology, especially given the huge risk involved. For those who are often buyers of used radios, what makes you buy used instead of new equipment? Well, here's the deal with that, in my opinion. If you save $200 or $300 on an HF rig by buying used, and it works, that gives you $200 or $300 you can spend on other gear for your shack. That's the way I look at it. Some of this new tech out there, there's a lot of it that's great. But if you're just going to work single sideband phone, working single sideband phone on a 20-year-old radio or a brand new radio, still putting 100 watts out, still doing RF in the air, so I don't have a problem with it. I guess the newest radio I got in here is one of these handhelds. This TY or Anytone Mobile I got. My HF rig's 18 years old now, and I bought it new back in 06, 07. And I don't use all the features of it. So there's nothing wrong with buying used gear. The only thing is you want to buy used gear that works. Again, I highly recommend Richard at MTC. Check with him, check his used gear listing. It clearly states on every used piece he's got whether it's got a 30-day warranty or not. So I don't think you can go wrong there. I've seen a lot of ham events. They will have a check table where you can actually take gear you're thinking about buying to a table and check it. They'll have a dummy load, power supply, and help you check it out. So either get a good Elmer to go with you. Nothing wrong with buying used gear. Get some help picking it out. Nothing wrong with buying new gear either if you got deep enough pockets. It all depends on what you want to spend on the hobby. I've never tried to dissuade anybody one way or the other on that subject. I've always run this hobby on a budget. You can tell by my antennas, and I've worked all 50 states. I've got over 1,000 contacts. I'm starting my second logbook. Dang near worked 100 countries. I'm in the high 90s on that, and I don't operate every day. There were several years I didn't operate. So you can work this hobby. You can spend as much as you want to work in this hobby, as little or as much, and have fun with it. And that's all I try to do with this channel, is to get you new guys interested, getting you on HF 10 meters, and keeping you interested in the hobby. Guys, if you want a copy of that picture, that diagram of that antenna build, let me know. Shoot me an email. Keep Main Trading Company in mind up there in Paris. They got some really good stuff going on. Got some channel, well, tip, give you another little tip. We fixed to rebuild an old South Tube radio on this channel. Ronnie Hull over at Shreveport is hooking me up with a HW101 he bought. It's got a little bugs in it, and I've got Tim and Jeff and Kent to help me out, and we're going to try to get that thing on air the next few months. There'll be some videos on that, and that stuff's easy out there, easy to find, and it's fairly easy to work on. It's fairly big, older equipment, but we're going to have some fun with it. Still going to try to do a shack build, and we hit 1,700, we're going to do another giveaway. As far as radio repair goes, if you live in my area and you can catch Kent without anything on his desk, he might be talked into doing some radio repair. He's done a lot for me. Also, there's a slide on here for MRG Labs in Farmersville, Dan Majors. He's got a little business going, and he'd be good working on radio. Guys, I appreciate everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Be sure and check, make sure you're still subscribed, because it goes up and down from Google a good bit for some reason. It's KB5 MIQ Big Boy 73.